Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. Now, this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
I remember when the ATL wasn't banging, now they banging, 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 banging. Niggas throwing sets and them bullets start ringing, bitches banging, 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 banging. I remember when the ATL wasn't banging, now they banging, 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 banging. Niggas throwing sets and them bullets start ringing like bang, bang, oh, bang, bang, bitch, nigga, bang, 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 bang.
Yo, peace, peace, peace. What's going on? What's happening? Hey, somebody let me know that they can hear me, because I know sometimes my damn headset be on some bullshit. Even though it'll say that I'm unmuted. For whatever reason, I'm muted on my actual headset. I don't know why I do that sometimes, but it do it like that. I actually I didn't even know. Peace, Mac. What's up? What's up? I didn't even know I had a show created. I just happened to look at my channel. I'm like, what the fuck? I think what I did, because I tried to do this show last week, and again my headset was fucking up, and I was talking shit the whole time and was muted. So I don't even think I deleted it or nothing. But so probably in the wake of doing that, I probably tried to redo the show or whatever, and just forgot that I fucking did it. But here we are. As far as this week go, no TFP this week. I got to go down to Montgomery on Thursday, go move my son in for college or whatever. So I'll be down there. I'll be in Alabama second half of the week. So it won't be a show this week either. My charger for my laptop is on its way, my new 12-volt charger, so I'm still waiting on that. And then I'll be able to get back up and running, like as far as doing a proper show. Oh yeah, appreciate that, Mike. Yeah, I mean, hell, I'm proud of him. It ain't me going to school, go down there, do what you got to do, and come on back. I don't view going to college as this grandiose. I just don't. I never have. You know what I'm saying? Would I be lying if I said I wish I didn't have the experience? Yeah, of course. Everybody wanted what kind of already did get the experience, because it ain't like I wasn't going to college parties or no shit, nothing like that. But as far as to me, college is overrated. Like unless you like going for something highly specialized, where you need to have that expertise. But for me, even with that, man, nothing beat on the job training. Nothing beat on the job training. I think for the most part, some of the shit that we praise having a bachelor's or whatever the situation may be for it, you really don't need it, you know. And I think my son understand that too. He don't give a shit about. I'm you know, again, I like being honest. I like being honest. He don't give a shit about the goals of college per se. I know what he going down there for. He going down there to fucking not necessarily be a nigga, because my son ain't a nigga, you know. But he going down there for the experience, which most motherfuckers do. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not paying for it. He ain't got no scholarship, but he also went into it realizing, hey, like your pocket's gonna be fucked up coming out of this. You understand that, right? And it's gonna be on you to go through the motion of the rat race once you get out of college. You know, and he understands it completely. But again, my oldest son, he on bullshit. You know, I call him a follower. Some people don't even like me saying that, like his mama and my parents, so on and so forth. But it's true. It's true. But nonetheless, I'm proud of him for taking the risk. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'll be going down Alabama State, which is an HBCU. For the people that don't know, I'll be going down to Alabama State, move him into a dorm, whatever. And like I said, after that, man, all I can do is bid him adieu and good luck. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, you know, my generation is different from his. I ain't tripping on it. You know, it is what the fuck it is. You know, all I can do is hope for the best for him. You know, like I said, one down, two more to go with my twins or whatever. You know, for them, hell, it's more of a hope to keep their ass out the penal system than any goddamn thing else. But, you know, I jest and laugh. You know, yeah, there's some bad motherfuckers, man, but I trust my kids, man. I trust them to be better than what I was coming up. You know what I'm saying? You know, even if that comes to some extremes, which I don't necessarily agree with. You know, like my twins already discussing military, you know what I'm saying? And with the current climate that we in, and that's tough for me. And I always look back, and I always told this story before. When I was coming out of high school, I was thinking about joining the military. Like, I was pretty much dead set on joining the military. In the height of the invasion of Iran going into Afghanistan. So now, you know, like I said, nothing new under the sun, y'all. Nothing new. Now I find myself in a predicament where my twins are, you know, talking more and more about what they want to do when they get out of school. They're juniors right now. And, you know, they're talking about the military. And I can put myself in the shoes of my mother when I was talking the same shit all those years ago in the early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? So, again, man, we always find ourselves in full circle moments. So just keep that in mind of how you was when you was young versus, you know, how you deal with your children today. Always keep that shit in mind. But in any event, I'm going to talk about, and I wasn't planning on this, but since I saw the show created, I'm going to just talk about it. I want to talk about lazy black voters. A lot of you niggas is lazy. I just got to be honest. And I'm talking about from the intellectual sense. A lot of you niggas is intellectually lazy. And you hold double standards in terms of our position in voting here in America. And I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it, man. Here I am, a newly born, butt booty naked liberal Democrat. Yes, if y'all didn't know, I have proclaimed from here on out, I'm a Democrat. Now, just to recap, if you want more detail, go check out the last show that I did with Van Cat and Ricardo, discussing the reasons behind me being a Democrat. MAGA, to me, at this point, is irrelevant. It's irrelevant in terms of political influence. Not irrelevant in terms of policy decisions. I wouldn't be that stupid to say anything like that. But in terms of political relevance, they're irrelevant. And that's in pretty much all manners. The sycophants are going to be sycophants. Ain't shit you can really do about them. The overall perception of MAGA is they're not too much worth a damn. All they can do is just make your life worse, which, it is what it is. You voted for them. So it is what it is now. The Democrats, at least legislatively, have to be a bulwark against some of the dumbass policy of the Trump administration and Mike Johnson and the MAGA Congress, right? That's just what it is. But what do I mean when I say lazy black voters? Well, now we find ourselves in a new political fight, which is very similar to MAGA in terms of eradication of your black ass. But this time, it's covered in a nice hand-knitted quilt of quote-unquote left-wing populism and progressivism, right? I said this in the show a couple weeks ago. This new fight that we now face wants to keep your ass well-fed, well-clothed, a roof over your head, but essentially in the same position your black ass been in since emancipation, and I'm talking it from a specific sense. With the hopes and dreams of Medicare for all and fucking state-funded housing and shit like that. Within the DSA, your black ass is not represented. I don't give a shit what you say, what you do. You can try to token your way out of it if you want to, but then you put yourself in a comparable position where now your hypocrisy shows its bare skin. Well, what do you mean by that, MD? Well, and this goes for like you pro-black, blackity black, Pan-African, Kwanzaa type niggas, right? I'm specifically talking to you. The niggas who fought, and again, y'all know my position when it comes to shit like FBA. I don't fuck with FBA. I think FBA is a cultural phenomena bred off I guess you would say a good faith argument, which is disaggregation of specifics when it comes to like American freedmen. I'm not saying you can't have a good faith argument based off that, but FBA don't have good faith arguments. They play culture wars. I'm not interested in the culture war. I don't give a shit about that, right? What I am interested in is specifics. And a lot of you Malcolm X, white liberal is the most dangerous, blah, 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 all that type of shit. You niggas are at an impasse, is what I'm telling you. Because now we find ourselves in a position where some of you pro-black, blackity black niggas is agreeing with this DSA shit. Because all along, just like I've been saying for years and years, you niggas have put away your blackness for socialism, for communism, because that's how you trained to be. I've been saying this since the time immemorial of my time in this political space on YouTube. Niggas didn't want to listen to me. They called me a McCarthyite. Said Negro Red Scare, all type of shit. They called me a Republican, which partly I was at a certain point in time. I give you that. But called me all type of shit. Now the chickens have proverbially come home to roost. To quote the Malcolm X, who you niggas like, right? Now you're in a position where you're agreeing or siding based off distinctions of your ideology. You know, a part of the ideology that you just tried to put away in a corner for a time, but now the shit is rearing its ugly head. And I'm talking about lefty loonyism. I'm talking about socialism. That's what I'm talking about. Now some of you niggas are voluntarily putting your blackness aside. Voluntarily. The blackest of black niggas are now putting their blackness aside for the taking away the means of production and giving it to the quote unquote state. Because that was the goal the whole fucking time. You just were probably unaware of it or, you know, ignorant of it. But that was the fucking goal. It goes back to what I say all the time. Well, MD, you don't like the word coon. Why? Well, because I understand the origins of the word. I understand the evolution of the phrase Uncle Tom. Well, not phrase, I guess term. Uncle Tom. And the similarities of what we today call coon. That's not me saying that there aren't certain black people in leadership positions that go out of their way to undermine black progress as a whole. Of course it is. Would I call him a coon? No, personally I wouldn't. Because I understand where that word comes from, its origins, and I understand the misuse from the 1940s and 50s of the American Communist Party and the Black Panther Party from there until the present time. It was a term used to advocate the very thing that's rearing its ugly head right now. It was never about another black person subjugating and demeaning other black people. It was never about that. I don't give a fuck what nobody say to you. They're wrong. They're wrong. That's just a fact. Uncle Tom, as the you know, and the preceding term, coon, which was originally, you know, a character in a minstrel show, you know, implying that, you know, a nigga in a leadership position is cooning and buffooning and buck dancing, you know, in a reverse method to undermine the black populace as a whole. It was never about that. Because then you would have to understand, and this goes to what I say, lazy black voters. For you to define that term as such, you would then have to say that within the confines of the American governmental system, you want to advocate for a specific marginalized group. Well, in order to do that, you got to be a liberal. Because that's literally the definition of liberalism from a social sense. But then you got them same niggas down in liberalism. Does any of this make sense to y'all? It was all a work the whole time. And now that we're seeing the angle play out, niggas got to pick a side. A line has been drawn in the sand, folks. A line has been drawn. That's just what it is. You're going to have to pick a side of the line. To use a term that Mike used, you can't straddle the fence. Now, the way Mike used it is inaccurate. You know what I'm saying? When I'm talking about straddling the fence, I mean you can't be an advocate for one system while bashing that same system. It's either you want it or you don't. Being a liberal isn't defined by the party that you're in. It's not defined. It's not a partisan. It's not a partisan ideology. It's just not. Well, how you know that, MD? Well, they say the modern father of neoliberalism, which I don't agree with, but the modern father of neoliberalism was Ronald Reagan. He was a fucking Republican. Neoliberalism being a more corrupt form of a Keynesian economic system where it's the system of too big to fail, prop up the companies, give maximum profits to its shareholders, blah blah blah. That's not classic liberalism, which is true free markets, global economy. If he dies type of economic system, which I adhere to. So this is what I'm talking about. You know, they say the black voter base is the backbone of the Democratic Party. For certain areas or national elections, that's totally true. Now it's time for black voters to put up or shut up. You're gonna have to pick a side now. You can't mimic or parrot shit that you hear on the internet no more. You got to have a principle at this point. You're going to have to adhere to something because now you face an extinction both on the left and the right, meaning political extinction, where the right wants to erase your history, put you in a bad light in terms of any type of liberal policy versus the left that just wants to forget that any of that specific history existed. It's not about your black ass no more. It's about the working class. Again, you could paint that term working class with a broad brush. I don't call them the working class. I call them middle management. And I'm getting a fucking call. Y'all be killing me, man. This shit always happens. All right, I'm back. Hopefully I'm back on. I think I see the thing moving. So this said nothing Mike says is accurate. Bullshit. Hey, I give you props. When Mike is right, I call it out. I call it out. I never called out that whole fence straddling suggestion. I never called that shit out. That again, in order to straddle a fence, you would have to define the two sides of the fence. That's what I'm saying. Now I'm clearly showing you both sides of the fence, right? And I'm talking exclusively like to black people. It's either you believe in a liberal ideal, which is equal protection under the law, advocating for marginalized groups who don't have that equal protection, or you don't. Or you think it's all bullshit.
This is what I'm saying. So in that regard, I guess I would agree, but your context of Fitz traveling ain't my context. That's all I'm saying. Let's stay on time. Okay, all right, I got you. I got you. That's fine. We'll say that for another day. I'll catch you on the night shift, Mike. How that sound? I'll catch you on the night shift. But in all seriousness, the black voter base find themselves in a predicament here. And I just want people to understand this, right? I want people to understand it. We're not in a good position right now. Just not. You're not in a good position where the leading candidate for the Senate seat in Michigan can come in by compression the most blackest city in the United States, which is Detroit, Michigan, upwards of 74 to 75% black, and have a rally in Detroit, Michigan, and ain't a nigga in sight. You're not in a good position, black person. You're not in a good position, black person, when you go to New York City. And again, I don't consider, and I'm talking about culture speaking. Places like New York City, I don't think is a gauge of America. I just don't. The same for South Florida. The same for places like LA. These are not good gauges for the American populace. But you can't find yourself in a good position when you go to a place like New York City and the representation there, although you have black people there, don't benefit interests of black people more broadly or overall. I mean, that's just what it is. I was born in Atlanta, and I'm going to die in Atlanta. Well, I'm going to at least be laid to rest there, right? Even a city like my beloved Atlanta, if you look at the overall demographics of the South, Atlanta is called the Empire State, well, Georgia. It's called the Empire State for a specific reason. We rule commerce in the South, meaning there's a lot of jobs here. It used to be at a point in time, it was relatively cheap to live there. So everybody moved their ass to Atlanta. Now it's gotten to a point you got to pay just to get in the city limit. All the niggas is moving outside city limits to surrounding area, including myself. I couldn't afford to live in Atlanta. Some people want to say I make all this money. I mean, I make a good living for myself. I couldn't afford to live in Atlanta. That's a fact. Not with the family I got. God damn it. Give me one more second, y'all. I got another fucking call.
All right, I'm back. My bad, man. Back to school shit, man. Back to school shit. But anyway, I forgot where I finished off at. But in any event, so this is what we facing as the black voter base. Now, I'm not here to say that you should vote a certain way, or you know, you ain't black. I'm not Joe Biden. I don't do shit like that, right? But I am saying, if you're one of the people that talk all this blackity black shit all day long, if you're one of the people that say, as a black person in America, you're forced to be funneled in one position, you find yourself at an impasse. You just do. If you're one of the people that use black issues as a cudgel in a particular political race or whatever the situation may be, you're at a fork in the road as of right now. You could try to minimize it or downplay it. See, this is what Venkat did. You could try to minimize it, downplay it all you want. That's fine. But once upon a time, sane Republicans did that exact same thing with Tea Party and eventually MAGA. The same shit. The same shit. And that's just what's going on right now. That's just what's going on. And if you don't want to accept that, you're intellectually lazy. You're not putting forth the effort to bolster your political reality. You're just not doing it. Some niggas like to use that pro-black, blackity black shit as an excuse not to participate. Which is, stupid in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. Tonight, we have an important primary going on in Michigan with the Senate seat, Abdul Al-Sayed and Haley Stevens. If I were a Michiganite, a Michigander, I think it's called, I would be voting for Haley Stevens. I understand that Abdul Al-Sayed is not formally a member of DSA. I understand that. But goddamn it, he adjacent enough to make me uncomfortable. More than likely, Abdul Al-Sayed is going to win. And we'll see how he's going to conduct himself going forward. It's a whole nother ball game when you got to go to Washington and play the game of politics. In another race in Wisconsin, Francesca Hong is a DSA member, and she's pretty much running away with the primary there. Some are saying she's not going to win against the Republican in Wisconsin. I don't know enough about Wisconsin politics to come up with that with a determination. But I do know people like Francesca Hong, people like the co-chair of the DSA, and other people within DSA are going on Fox News saying all the crazy, stupid shit, and they're projecting all the crazy and stupid shit on the Democratic Party in totality. Do you think that's okay? Do you think that's okay? It's not okay. It's not okay at all. I got to stress this because people will try to generalize what I'm saying, and I'm not generalizing. Black people, and this has become a cliche at this point. Black people are not a monolith. Just not. I'm not saying that you should vote a certain way. I am saying if you tie yourself to a certain ideology, you're at a breaking point right now. And a lot of you niggas claim to be tied to a certain ideology when it comes to blackness. My logo says, say no to black. Not saying say no to black culturally. That would be idiotic. Not even necessarily saying no to black politically, because a lot of our specific harm is tied to the political structure in this country. That's not what I mean when I say no to black. I say no to black strategically, because I play the game of politics. A lot of you niggas are too lazy to play the game of politics. Just too lazy. You think that it doesn't affect you, or you know, what can they do to me that they haven't done already? Blah blah blah. And it becomes tiresome at some point dealing with a lot of you niggas. Because it's the same old spiel. I've been here for years and years. You ain't moved an inch. Political power is just not your voting power. It goes far beyond that. Far beyond that. That's one of the issues I got with a person like Yvette Carnell. I think Yvette Carnell is brilliant. If you put a gun to my head and told me I had to choose between ADOS and FBA, I'd choose ADOS 10 times out of 10. But I disagree wholeheartedly that an ADOS organization should be solely based on leveraging voting power. Like, it's way more to it. Way more to it. You know, everybody want to talk shit about. Oh my God, I got another call. Hey, I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.